If you are a creative entrepreneur who is looking to start on your B2B journey and you want to help other businesses solve the problems that you've solved, but you're confused as to how to acquire your first paying client, this video is for you. This is going to be simply an unscripted video and a celebration as well. I've acquired my first client, and I'm going to tell you this about the journey. I started out on the journey to take serious to help other businesses in I believe it was 2020. I started out just after COVID. I had started acquiring ad certifications via Google, which intimidated me at first, but I knew I needed to gain a deeper understanding. And a lot of people poo-poo Google certifications, especially since they were free through Google. I believe it's Skillshop, but they're very, very insightful and very, very helpful. And Google continues to update the information based on what's relevant in the marketplace. And Google has far more data than any one media buyer. So really take what they say with a grain of salt and simply do your own testing, which is what I've done. I've, ran my own campaigns and done my own testing, contrary to what some people said or regurgitated. And I found that some of them didn't know what they were talking about. And I've gotten some great insights simply by testing it myself. And of course, I'm doing a wise test. You're not throwing money away. But it was, wise incremental testing. And since I ran my own successful campaigns in the marketplace via Meta and had received stellar results, I know what I'm talking about. I solved for a lot of problems. One problem, case in point, as a professional tattoo artist of 20 years, when I was kind of on solo, when I was tattooing outside of a shop or renting space within a shop, in any of those situations, it was a little bit harder for me than when I was in the traditional shops because it was easier to book. Like that was baked in. Like you literally couldn't book an appointment without, first going through a phase of basically expressing what it is you wanted, and then you would, do that by way of consultation, which required an upfront deposit for that to even happen. But for some reason, at some point in my career, I lacked the discipline when I went independent, right? And I wouldn't, be steadfast to that protocol, right? The tattoo studio protocol. I wanted to be more flexible and relatable, which was very unprofessional and very harmful to my business. Anyway, as I would gather prospects and have them to book appointments, because I didn't follow the protocol that was proven, I had a lot of no-shows, right? And a lot of, I was getting ghosted a lot, right? And when I baked into my own personal service, independent of a tattoo studio, consultation and required deposits, everything changed. And I say that to say this, there's a lot of great information out here that can help your business as it stands, right? No matter how small you are. And one thing that I found useful, and this is a bonus, because if you're going to help businesses, right, especially if you're going to help service-based businesses like salon owners, beauticians, cosmetologists, nail techs, barbers, when you're helping people like that, like they have a lot of great apps right now, whereas though, you can book through. So there's a lot of great apps for that now. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you can actually, if you're dealing with a service-based business owner that may not know about these platforms, you can, easily introduce them. And you can kind of share the anecdote that I just shared, right? How it's detrimental to your business if you don't have required deposits baked into your service-based business that you're offering. I don't care, even if it's a landscaping business, you should have deposits baked in because your time is very, very valuable, right? Time is not money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. So you want to let people know that you take your time serious. That way they can take your time serious. And I'm telling you, my conversion rate went crazy. And I had consistent bookings, right? And in the tattoo industry, years ago, a lot of us didn't understand, direct response advertising. We didn't understand that that could even be comparable to our business model. And there were not a lot of tattooers running ads. I was absolutely one of the first tattoo artists running ads. Not the only, one of the first in terms of digital marketing. And I worked between Baltimore and Florida as a tattoo artist. I received my tattoo license in Florida, by the way, Naples, Florida, at Body Branding Tattoo Emporium. But I say that to say this: there are best practices that you need to inform of these service-based businesses. Now, in terms of products, it's very, very easy. What I like to do for business owners that are selling products and service-based businesses, reviews is another thing. You want to bake that into what you're offering. Get them reviews because, of course, social proof is really, really good. And I'm just going to give you this as a criterion for you to select the businesses, because you don't want to be like the desperate person, consultant or coach or agency owner. You don't want to do that. You want to move from a space of confidence based on things that you've proven for you and through your own experiences in the marketplace. And that way you're going to look for people that are similar to you in character, right? You want leaders and not needers. And that's what I learned from Myron Golden. I have to give him props for that. Because every time I work with leaders, and that time, I'm talking about even in my B2C, right, in terms of my tattoo service business, when I found leaders, people who knew what they wanted and were proactive and were willing to put that deposit down and go through the protocol of my consultation, when I found those leaders, my business changed. When I went through needers, people who simply wanted to get, wanted, felt they needed to get a tattoo because everybody else was getting one, but they really didn't want it, right? And so they just couldn't make those decisions when it came to that commitment. They were wishy-washy, right? So when I switched to finding leaders and not needers, everything changed. So that's what you want to do in terms of the businesses that you work with and in terms of helping them acquire the customers or businesses that they're looking for. So you only want to work with people who simply respect your time, people who truly want the service that you have to offer them. But definitely have reviews baked in. You definitely want to help them with social proof. It is mandatory. But I want to say this, and I want to get to the what I promised, and that is, how do you get this first client besides adding these nuggets, right, of value that I just discussed? Well, it is hard. Let's just say you're starting out and you are your only case study and testimonial. That's a starting point, by the way. That has value, right? Don't let you have a lot of influencers and entrepreneurs out here that are kind of making you feel like that doesn't have value and that doesn't matter. It actually does matter. And here's why. Because when you have proven something for yourself time and time again, like with me, I've direct sales in general, I've mastered it. And then when it came to the digital marketing side of direct sales, in terms of direct response, I've mastered that. And also, I want to add before I give you the nugget is some people conflate what direct response is and someone that actually is wanting to get sales, right? In other words, they believe that direct response is, forgive me, lead generation and direct response. They are confusing what those are and don't understand that they both work hand in hand. They're not one versus the other. And here's why. Even in the days of mailing, right, when people would do mailing campaigns and things of that nature, right, the legends of direct response, they would buy ad space within a newspaper or a magazine, even before 1-800 numbers. Even when you had the 1-800 number, let's just say they had the ability to immediately make a direct a purchase immediately. Once they get it, they open up the mail, they see the offer, they read the sales letter, right? And they're triggered to want to take action now. Now think about the person that received that letter back in the day, or got that newspaper clipping or magazine clipping, or saw that 1-800 number. They didn't always take immediate action. There was a gestation period. What if they didn't get paid until the next month, or 2 weeks from now, or the next week? They couldn't immediately act, right? But they put it in the back of their mind, right? Maybe they had a lot of expenses, but they knew they wanted to do it, and so they just started saving up the money so that they can invest in the offer, right? So, like, when you think of sales versus lead generation, like, what you want to always do is lead generation, because that's marketing. Because, like Myron Golden had said, and this was so brilliant the way he said this, the people are really not interested in contacting you, but you as the business owner, advertiser, marketer should be interested in contacting them. So true marketing is when you capture their information. And that is what is measurable, is when you can get their information, whether it be instantly or whether it be over a period of time. Because think about it, when they're sending out those mailing campaigns, postcards, letters, whatever it was, sales letters, there was still a gestation period because it had to be mailed, right? Even if someone acted on it that day and mailed it right off, it still, took time. So think about that. But it also was very measurable in that sense. And a lot of people, I hear them mixing that up. And you really want to combine the two. You want to generate those leads. And that's why I say, when you're having a quiz funnel, that is amazing, right? You want to definitely do that. And even if you have it where as though you're having them redeem a discount code or whatever it is, or you're giving them some free information if it's a high ticket offer, right? And this is a premium value audience, and they don't make decisions based on price. Even though there are some in the premium value audience that actually make decisions based on price because they want to make wise investments. So I don't want to confuse you there, right? But there are some that are more price sensitive than others. Either way, gathering that information is the best approach at all times. So quiz funnels and everything that then gives them some sort of bonus, some information, or some sort of discount code, right, that they can immediately redeem. I call it an incentivized quiz funnel. That way you're also testing angles by way of gathering information where people are giving you the content, right, with which to actually give them the context through. In other words, you're asking questions because questions are the answer. When you ask better questions, you get better answers. So you want to be generating leads, right, and sales. And I'm telling you, you'll be able to have a higher conversion rate if you're doing both. Because if you are gathering the content from them, you'll be able to have a list of because pretty much you're asking direct questions and people are giving you, and that way you can better segment your audiences and speak to them in that way, not just in your paid ads, but your SMS and email marketing as well. So I wanted to say that, because some people get those confused. Either you're doing sales or leads. No, you need to be doing both, because you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're just trying to get the sale. Now, of course, you're going to get that information via the credit card and all of that. So you still are getting it. But the content that you gather when you ask those questions is really, really good. And everyone is not going to buy right then. So you might as well generate leads, right? Which they are, and I know some people will say, well, if they're going to your product page and they're checking out, eventually that's a lead, right? I feel like that is true if you have it set up in that order. Whereas though before they make the purchase, they've already entered their information in. Yes, they are a lead and you can, retarget them and remarket to them. That is true. But I feel like if you start with getting the information first and asking the right questions, you can better prime the situation and create an environment that makes them feel like buying. And literally, those questions, the answers that you get, the content that they give you, that you then turn into angles, you can also use in your conversion rate optimization, right? You can literally build your landing page to that feels more valuable to the prospect and will trigger them to more easily make the purchase, right? So there's a lot of benefits to that, and I just wanted to because I pretty much invested in a course learning media buying, and they would kind of try to turn it into two different worlds and say direct response is purchasing and lead generation is something different. That's not direct response. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, lead generation is in the heart of direct response. So they must didn't understand what the legends were talking about. When you listen to David Ogilvy, Dan Kennedy, and the like, they're talking about direct response. So that's not true. That getting purchases and generating leads, it goes hand in hand, because there's some people that may get interrupted. Maybe they were about to make the purchase, but life happened, right? So you're going to need to be able to remarket or retarget them. So that is very important for you to understand that. A lot of people confuse that, and they think generating leads has nothing to do with direct response. Actually, it is. It's a direct response you're getting. They're putting in the information. That's a direct response, and it's measurable. And that's the whole point. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that. Hopefully I was clear, in that point. I just wanted to get that out the way so you can understand that they work both hand in hand. They complement one another, and it is all encompassed in the body of that is direct response. So whether you're getting their information, phone number, email, address, or whether you're getting that and they make a purchase, it's all direct response. That's how it's measurable versus a commercial. Now, here's the good thing. When it comes to commercials, right, you want to add that back in your mix, right? Because YouTube has proven that TV is powerful in the digital sense now, right? So you can now run ads. And this is so cool because the playing field is level. Usually big corporations, the incumbents in the marketplace, right, that dominate the market share, were the only one that had these huge advertising budgets and can do traditional television advertisements. But now we can buy placements on television right now as far as connected TV and things of that nature. So it's beautiful. And here's the thing. And you're saying, well, that's not in alignment with my business because I need more clicks. Yes, that actually is an alignment because you can place QR codes within your video ads, right? Now, you probably can't do that on every billboard that you buy traditionally, but you can do it. Now, here's another strategy. I want to give you a tip that you can use for your own business and helping other businesses before I get to the juicy part of how you acquire your first customer. You can literally, when you invest in a billboard, use the metrics, use the data that you get from running your campaigns and seeing the regions that you're getting the most engagement from, that is showing the most intent. And what you can do is the busiest pathways in those cities, you can place a billboard, right? So because top of mind awareness is very, very beautiful, because you definitely want to build your personal brand. That's always good too. And a lot of people, and I always want to say that too, you want to be doing both. You want to be getting sales and you want to be building your personal brand as well. You want to be doing it at the same time. And that's why I say lead generation and sales go hand in hand, right? It's all direct response, period. And now even with Bill, it's still measurable. It's still highly measurable because now you have Google Maps and all of these things, and Google can actually see the offline behavior that leads someone by your store. If you strategically have a brick and mortar store and you have a billboard that is near your store, you can measure that. So that is measurable. You can literally see a spike or uptick if a billboard is effective. But just for the purpose of personal brand building, it is very, very valuable. And like I said, if you're strategically placing them in the regions that you're gaining more engagement for your paid and organic content online, if you're getting more engagement and then you're seeing more intent, right, and more action in those areas, place a billboard there. That's all. It basically puts your messaging on steroids. So, okay, getting away from that, right? So understanding that lead generation and sales are both direct response, understanding that when it comes to digital advertising, just so you understand that. And for you to understand that you want to focus on not just generating sales, but you also want to build your personal brand as well, right? So you want to do that. So you want to basically have a hybrid of organic content, right, and paid content. Okay, so all of that aside, how do you get your first customer? I use a method called performance-based marketing, right? Performance-based marketing and advertising. What does that mean? That means when I go out and acquire a prospect, right, who actually eventually becomes a client or customer, I do what Frank Kern says. I show them, prove to them that I can help them by actually helping them. In other words, I take on all of the expenses up front and all of the risk up front because I'm so confident that I can get them the outcomes that they desire, the transformation that they want. And that's one, always ask questions and listen, right? Ask questions and WFA, wait for an answer. Because as I said, they will provide the content and then you can provide the context. The art of selling is being able to uncover the value that you have to offer so well that people are willing to exchange the money that they have for what it is that you are selling, right? And the only way to do that is to find out what is valuable to them. Because the only way you can let them know what's in it for them is by allowing them to provide the content of what they actually value, and then you can align your messaging with that. Now, of course, you want to do that with integrity, and you want to ensure that what you actually have to offer actually lines up is in alignment with what they truly value, right? So that's one. So you basically, when you discover all that, then you deliver on that up front. Let's just say they need leads for their business and they want a specific type of qualified lead. I just gave you some tips in the beginning of how you can help them do that, right? Because usually when there's an upfront commitment of some sort, even if it's incentivized, right, usually the more focused and intentional segments of audience will actually do that, right? It takes a lot for someone to fill out a form or to do a survey, right? That takes a lot. Or to watch an educational video, because as they say, an educated prospect usually becomes a more intentional customer, right? So education is important. You're educating them on what it is that you offer so that they can understand what's in it for them. And they can understand how your offer is unique, right? Your unique selling proposition, right? And they can also understand how it works. And they also can understand how they need to get it, right? That goes back to the 16-word sales letter, right? The big idea, right? And the 10 questions that you must answer. The way I do it is I do 12, right? It's actually 12 questions that you must answer. And in terms of your copywriting, right? Your messaging. So we'll get into that in another video. But like I said, you're going to give them results up front. And that way you are in control of the price and everything. And usually you can easily figure out your pricing, because a lot of people say, oh, well, what should I cost? What should I do for them? That's why I say it's important for you to have done this for yourself, so you can understand how the numbers break down, right? Because you can charge 10% of the value that whatever it is you're offering gives them, right? Let's just say that whatever you're offering can generate them $4,000 in a month's time, right? 4,000 extra income in a month's time, right? 4,000. So maybe you would charge them 10% of that, or 400 for that particular feature, right? Let's just say that you can guarantee that in 12 months time or 6 months time or something like that, that they'll generate an extra 11,500. You can charge them 1,500 for something like that. Just give you examples, right? 10% of the overall financial value you can offer them, you can charge them. So that helps you when it comes to pricing, because I know a lot of people get stuck there. Well, what should I charge them? And like Marvin said, another good indicator is if the price makes you smile, then that's probably going to be a good price. But you don't want to charge them something that's too low. You don't want to commoditize your service, right? Your offering, just to compete with who else you see out there. You don't want to do that. You want to go out in the marketplace and represent yourself based on the value that you offer. You don't want to go off of price because you see someone that you perceive as your competitor. You want to lower your price. Don't do that. The race to the bottom never helps, because what it does is it takes away your power and ability to be able to give them a premium value experience, a VIP experience. The cheaper your offer is, you're not really going to be able to give them a big transformation with that. The more that you charge, the better you will be able to offer them and guarantee that they have a great offer. And that's why I love performance-based, because you literally are getting paid based on your performance. And I'm telling you, it works like gangbusters. Like when my client heard that she was going to get leads generated and she didn't have to deal with any advertising dashboards or any complicated for any of that stuff, that I was just simply going to put this lead generation on autopilot for her business, bringing her an extra income. And also I designed it in a way to where, as though what she's paying, she's definitely going to double, if not triple that. Like, the numbers have to make sense for them, right? It has to be profitable for you, but also has to be profitable for them. It has to be a win-win. And I like to have them win way more. That's why I say you charge them 10% of the outcome that you can get them, right? The result that you can get them, right? I want to make sure that they're getting the bigger end of the deal, right? But we're both winning. So that's just important. So that's how you get them that. And it's very easy. I'm telling you, you're going to get a lot of clients. Now, if you don't want to continue to do it, you can just do the performance-based model for the first 3, right? Like the Bible says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Once you get the 3 testimonials, the 3 case studies, right, besides your own success, I'm telling you, it's going to be very easy for you to close. And if you're actually helping out respectable businesses that simply may not have been savvy when it comes to digital marketing and things of that nature, when you help them, they have a lot of relationships in the marketplace, especially if they've been around a long time in their cities. I'm telling you, they will refer you to their colleagues, right? So then you're going to have a lot of warm prospects that are going to be easy for you to close. But if you're willing to incur the cost up front for the first 3, it's beautiful. I'm particularly am going to probably, after, I would say, the first 20, I'm going to do the performance-based model. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm going to do that. Like, I use the money that I generate in my business, the profit and everything, to love the people and to me, getting their confidence, it matters to me. So I love performance based. That's just the way I'm going to be doing it starting out. Now, of course, when it comes to my coaching and consulting and courses, they're going to be, of course, paying up front. But I love building my testimonial stack this way because it builds a lot of confidence in them, and it's going to make their testimonials even better because they're going to be like, man, this guy was so confident that he pretty much took on all the risk up front, and he actually proved the value that he had to offer. So it was a no-brainer for me to actually pay for that. And another tip I want to give you, it's always best for you to own the asset. If you own the asset, if you own the funnel, if you are running the ads through your own ad account for businesses, you have the leverage, right? Because you're capturing all the leads. They don't get a release of those leads until they pay you, right? And I always do month to month, right? Because I don't want them to be tied into an aggravating contract that they can't get out of, like a 6-month long contract where, and that's the problem. Excuse me, a lot of companies, and I've experienced this myself, you invest up front into an agency and they don't even get you the results, right? But you're locked into a contract that you just can't get out of. And that sucks, right? So I want a month-to-month situation to where as though they're free to leave the next month. But guess what? They're not going to be able to get the leads that will generate it until they pay, right? Because I own the asset. And let's just say a person is very selfish and they're a taker. Even if they don't give me an upfront testimonial, I still can use that data as a case study. Even if I'm blurring out their business name, if they don't give me permission to share the name of their business, I can still blur it out and show the results that I got, right? So it's really, really good to own the asset. And then if you want to do consulting for them and actually help them to get into their own systems, then that's another way that you can get paid. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. And I want you to go out there and really have integrity and really seek to really give someone the best outcome at the highest levels of value. And I'm telling you, you're going to transform lives and you're going to transform your business. This has been, like I said, guys, I got started in the beginning of this journey to really focus on B2B. And like I said, in 2020. Like I had that in mind because when COVID was happening, a lot of businesses were suffering and I wanted to help them. And then by 2021, I jumped into the SMMA course through Ty Lopez. And I got to say this, that was a really good course because what it does is it gives you a lot of good ideas as to how you can approach the marketplace. And I feel like that was a game changer because it helped you to get in front of a lot of problems that the marketplace was facing. So I got to give Ty Lopez his props. Plus, I used things that I learned from the SMMA course from Ty Lopez back in 2021. And I went from 5,000 followers on Instagram to 60,000 followers, right? And I went viral quite a few times, right? I had millions of views. I did that like 3 times, right, on that site, and then had some other like hundreds of thousands of views and stuff like that, and thousands of views. Like I experienced my first virality just by following what that course said. So I wanted to say that. So, that's just in case people say Ty Lopez is a scam. No, if you don't work the work, it's not going to work for you. And then, of course, you're going to blame and then say someone's a scam. Anyway, I hope this was helpful to you. And remember the words of Frank Kern, the best way to prove that you can help someone is by actually helping them. That's why I say don't quit your day job because your day job funds your business, right? And the quicker you do this, guys, you build your clients, you'll be able to leave your day job. And you'll be able to fund not only your own business, but, help other businesses as well. And this, I'm telling you, is going to be a game changer for you because it's going to take the stress off and you're going to easily be able to stack up those testimonials because a lot of people really have a good offer. They just don't have the testimonials. And I know that's a painful learning curve and hump to get over. But I just helped you solve that problem. And I'm pretty sure you heard other people. You've heard Myron Golden suggest this.